Yeah.
So did you
At least it's not snowing.
got on?
I know.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is positive. My word.
I had already given it a fair thought.
I wish I had done more of thought on mine.
It's
I have spread out myself.
I'm gonna do probably renovation for my other project starting at work. I'm starting, I just got my 20 applications in September to get 20 applications.
It even has my other favorite word in the definition. Attitude.
Oh, that was fun.
I was trying to decide whether I wanted to do perspective or attitude. And when I looked at the definition for perspective, it had attitude on it, so I could.
Oh, wow. What do you do? Oh, my goodness.
I don't even change.
No. I don't need to get it. Because I wouldn't work for Joe either.
Yeah, that's the hardest part.
Well, I tried to get it. It was once it was posted where they were in the Toastmasters group. Oh, it is one, I think. And really can't help.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
I got 9 people in my office. I'm not going to call people to come.
Yeah, I was
They can come
telling Alex I've been watching my videos. They come out. And because I'm so short and he has the camera up so high, I look like I'm 2 feet tall.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't lower the camera.
I understand the feeling.
I try not to.
They're written in my meeting. Great.
I guess if you're far enough.
What your board was for.
And you're an evaluator, right?
Yes. For parsing?
This out. From just an example
Would you like me to rewrite
advice you wouldn't do versus
I didn't
feedback.
need inspiration. I thought I was allowed to share. I can share if you'd like me to. Would you think, hi?
It's helpful of you.
Yeah.
Do you have $12 cash on you by any chance?
So this is, what else?
Actually, Ruth's not here to give it to me, so
It's
she
just an
doesn't show up.
example of
I paid our $45 online, but we owe Ruth $6 each.
I would say I had trouble hearing you.
Okay, if she comes, we'll give her the cash now. If not, we'll get it to her.
Yes,
By check.
yes. Instead of
It needs
this,
to be by the
say
end of the
that.
month.
Okay, got it.
And none of these may be applicable to the speech or noise, but I thought was an
On what?
interesting.
Oh, thank you.
It's helpful to me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, this is a very well worded.
Judy,
Very different,
you can
yes.
sit at the big people's table.
Yes, join us.
There's still two, yeah, there are still 2 or 3 open chairs.
You promise not to bite.
Yes.
At least not hard. You don't bite hard.
The first time, because I did a book. Before they went on the computer, they had manuals. And there were 2 YouTube. No, it's all online.
Good, how are you?
I went to Toastmasters. And
That's
Oh, that's great.
Actually, the grammarians thing, yeah.
one of my friends said they wanted to meeting and they thought that was in school.
I don't know how good I'll be with the handwritten, like a research paper.
It is a commitment.
So,
Yeah.
so you just
Yes.
want to listen for good things and bad things.
Welcome, fellow Toastmasters and guests, to another meeting of the Toastmasters. My name is David
Okay.
Wood, and I am your Sergeant at Arms. Now, without further ado, I'd like to welcome up our presiding officer, Beth May.
Welcome, glad you made it here on this very rainy night. I don't have any long intro to give because I'm just going to save my words for my speech. So without further ado, I turn it over to our Toastmaster of the evening, Alex Ball. Guess and the inspiration. Yeah. Can you do the guess and the inspiration?
Sure.
could introduce yourself and tell us what brought you here today.
It's like, I'm the one.
Yes.
Coming to me?
We usually have more guests, so usually it's like
Yeah.
today because they're in.
I think it's a very committed guest. But today will be my last day being guest because I am going to fill out the form today.
Perfect.
And inspiration.
One thing I've always noticed is that people look for excuses for anything. Very easy excuses. Excuses to not show up to things that they want to do to improve themselves. For example, coming to a meeting.
It's a very low commitment American culture that we have.
It's fair.
In many ways.
But I have noticed this a lot. So, for everyone here who has showed up today, pat yourself on the back. A small step in improving yourself and not coming up with easy excuses. That's not targeted at anyone.
And it's true. People will,
Inspiration.
yeah.
What was that? Inspiration.
Oh, okay.
Because I forgot.
Is that eating inspiration?
Hello, Toastmasters. So, today I would like to talk about a word. I'm going to do this short and sweet. Impossible. The definition of impossible is not possible. Another definition I found is not able to happen. When we couldn't communicate through cell phone, that was impossible at one point, right? When we couldn't go to the moon, that was impossible for a while, right? But I like to give it a different definition. Impossible, and this is, I tell my kids all the time, and I try to remember myself. Impossible is something that has not been made possible just yet. So maybe if we give it our all, maybe if we're passionate about it, maybe if we try and we fail and we try and we fail, just like the light bulb, how many times did it take for electricity to happen? We'll never know. If we don't try, we'll never know. So I would like to recommend a little change to this word. I'm possible. I'm a possibility. I can make it possible, depending on how hard I try. Thank you.
So, the general structure of the meeting is prepared speeches, table topics, evaluations, and reports. Everyone's a member, or soon to be a member, so we all know that. Today, I would also like to introduce the helpers, starting with our grammarian, Jody.
Okay, so my name is Jody. I'll be the grammarian for tonight. So I'm really new to this. I'll be commenting on language usage during the course of the meeting. Throughout the meeting, I'll be listening to everyone's word usage, writing down any awkward use or misuse of the language, incomplete sentences like a run-on, sentences that change direction in midstream, any trails, incorrect grammar, malapropisms with the note of who erred. Also write down the word of the day or a derivative of it and how many times it was used in somebody's speech, whether it was used incorrectly or correctly. And a malapropism is a noun, which is an act or habit of misusing words ridiculously, especially by confusion of words that are similar in sound. So they may sound the same, like lead the way and will precede rather than proceed. So it's a very subtle difference, but it's a different meaning, different use.
Thank you. And for our word of the day, Leanne.
So I picked the word of the day as perspective. The dictionary definition is a particular attitude toward or a way of regarding something, a point of view. Attitude being another one of my favorite words. So I was very excited that I get to use both of them today. Alex had a perspective earlier today when he was saying we were complaining about the rain, but he says at least it's not snowing. So that is a very good perspective to have. And the sentence I have is glass half empty or glass half full? What is your perspective, or your perspective on this idea is your choice.
And our Wizard of Oz is Louise.
All right, my perspective on the Wizard of Oz is you don't want to hear you have 20 of anything. You just want to know what you need to work on. And I don't have, and so I will do the O's and S's and ums, and that I will count them up and give them a report at the end of the meeting.
We have a slight change to our timer. Kari is not here, so Tom will be taking on that role.
Good evening, everyone. I am Tom. I will be your timer this evening. We have a timing device which allows us to contain how long we speak. Tonight we have two different types of speeches, an icebreaker which runs 4 to 6 minutes, and two regular speeches which run 5 to 7 minutes. The way the timer works, while you're speaking, when you reach the minimum threshold, in the case of an icebreaker that's 4 minutes, the green light will come on. When you reach the middle level, which would be 5 minutes, the yellow light will come on. And when you're approaching the end of your speech, in the case of an icebreaker is 6 minutes, the red light will come on and remain on. The goal would be to wrap up your speech within 30 seconds of the red light coming on, that way you don't go over. Now the fact that the timer limits how long you can speak, if that's a good thing or not, I don't know. It's a matter of perspective.
Our vote counter for the evening, David.
If you shift your perspective of view, you'll see these sheets. These sheets are great, and they have areas where you're able to leave feedback for speakers, topic masters, general evaluators, the Toastmaster. And at the bottom, you have these tear-off ballots. We use these ballots to record our votes for best evaluator, best table topic speaker, and best speaker of the night. At the end, after I've counted everyone's votes, I'll hand it over to Alex, and he'll divvy out the amazing trophies. You have to get back to it.
Now we will begin the prepared speech portion of our meeting. Our first speaker is Beth May. She is starting Pathway with Presentation Mastery. She's doing her icebreaker. Project title is Broken Ice. Beth May has been a Toastmaster for 6 years. She joined a corporate club at Lockheed Martin in 2013. Since then, she served in multiple officer positions, transferred to this club, and completed the Competent Communicator and Competent Leader levels in the educational program we used before Pathways. She is recently enrolled in Pathways and is now embarking on the path to Presentation Mastery. This is her icebreaker speech entitled Broken Ice.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and guests, I have been a member of this club for 3 years, and many of you know me fairly well. Through my speeches and table topics, you've heard me talk about my career, my car, and my addiction to Toastmasters conferences. Indeed, I believe the ice is already broken. So my goal tonight is to share some things about myself you don't already know. I'd like to start by telling you about my wonderful husband, Tom. I met Tom in college, dated him for 9 years, and married him 26 years ago. Tom is the love of my life. He is my soulmate, and we share many things in common. But we also have many differences. In fact, you might say we are the example of, or proof, that opposites attract. For example, Tom is quick-witted and easygoing. I am not. Tom can socialize with just about anybody easily. He is clearly an extrovert. I am what author Dvorak calls a centrovert. Like the centroverts in her book, Networking for People Who Hate Networking, I'm very comfortable with the people I know. But facing a room full of strangers makes me very nervous. It used to terrify me. Tom and I also have different perspectives on what car is fun to drive. Tom currently drives a Subaru, but he used to own a Prius. He bought the Prius because it was high-tech and environment-friendly, and he doesn't care about going fast. I drive a Nissan 370Z, which is a two-seat sports car. I love my Z because it's gorgeous, it's powerful, and I can drive it very fast. I like to say that the Z goes from 0 to 60 in 4.3 seconds, and the Prius goes from 0 to 60, period. Tom and I are both computer engineers, but Tom specializes in hardware and I specialize in software. And in fact, I'm not a practicing engineer anymore. I switched to project management more than 20 years ago. Using a Star Wars analogy, Tom likes to say, I've gone to the dark side. I don't feel that way. I love being a project manager and I'm very good at it, but I'm still also an engineer. As engineers, Tom and I both tend to be perfectionists, but that manifests differently for each of us. For example, when Tom makes dinner, he plans the meal in advance to make sure everything is ready at the same time. And then he plates the food. He arranges it for maximum visual impact. So the asparagus might be vertical in the middle of the plate, with the fish and the other sides carefully arranged around it, and it's all still hot. Now, I'm a good cook, and I enjoy cooking. But for me, plating the food means transferring it onto the plate. And it's not always still hot. So I guess that's one reason why it's good that Tom prepares most of the meals in our house. I am the perfectionist when it comes to our checkbook. I like to track every transaction in detail and reconcile the balance to the penny. I did this for years and then transferred that responsibility to Tom. Tom appreciates my attention to detail, but he has absolutely no desire to copy my compulsive behavior. I'm learning to live with that. It's a little bit painful, not as painful as facing a room full of strangers. Despite our differences, Tom and I share the same basic values, which include honesty, integrity, and a strong work ethic. We have tried hard to lead by example and instill these values into our sons, Joshua and Adam. Since they are still relatively young, at 19 and 22 years old, it remains to be seen just how well those lessons have taken hold. But we remain optimistic. At this point, I hope you've learned at least one new thing about me. As a reminder, I'm a project manager and engineer, centrovert who likes to drive fast and prefers balancing the checkbook to the penny over plating food attractively. I have a wonderful husband and 2 sons who are becoming wonderful men. And I look forward to sharing more with you as I continue on this Toastmasters journey.
For our next prepared speech will be Parsa, and he is working on pathways with dynamic leadership. And this speech will be evaluation and feedback. This speech discusses how we plan for getting out of the comfort zone. Parsa.
Hello, everybody. Let's be honest here. I'm also an engineer. I work on tunnels. There's the latest project that we are involved with is called NEBT in DC. Things are not going well over there. So last week I was extremely busy with that, and I didn't have that much time to prepare. So I'm here to improvise. Okay. So my topic was how to get, basically, a world is waiting for us out of our comfort zone. The question is, what is comfort zone? Comfort zone is a psychological state that basically everything's are familiar to us. And we feel that we are in control. The other thing which somebody might really like about it is that the stress levels are really low. And at comfort zone, we have a steady performance. Some people might really be happy with it. But by nature, we humans, we are not happy with the steady. That's who we are. We want improvement. That's how we define our lives. Today should be better than yesterday. Otherwise, we feel something is not correct. That is the main reason that we like to explore the world outside. We want to go and find things new. That's why we like to get out of our comfort zone. Getting out of comfort zone means that we are going to attract some stress. The stress level we have will increase. And that's not something bad. That's normal and that's good. What happens when the stress level increases, your concentration is actually also increases. Your performance is also increases. But up to a level, they call it danger zone. Up to danger zone, your concentration increases, your performance gets better. And it's important that we manage that. If we can keep it within that danger and comfort zone, you're actually doing something good to ourselves. So that was some sort of an introduction that I wanted to share with you. So, a little bit. Okay, so I hope at this point we all agree that it's good to explore outside. We need to do that. But that's scary. We need to be able to convince ourselves that we need to get out. We need to get outside. And there are some techniques and preparations that help us in long run to learn this skill. Some people have it, some people don't. The good thing is that these skills can be learned. Some people started 20 years ago and they are master in this skill by now. And if we start today, 5 years from now, we also have this skill in our skill box. So sooner you start, sooner you get better. If you push it later on, everything will be pushed back by that amount of time. So one of the techniques that always help people to get out of their comfort zone is that remind yourself about good things happen to you when you explore the outside world. Many good things that has happened to us, and we are all, those are good memories we have and we are proud of it, is, as a matter of fact, when we explored the outside world. And when we, when we remember these things, that encourages us for our next exploration. The other thing, which is very important, is about making yourself knowledgeable. What do I mean by that? Assume that in your own home or here, when you come and the lights are off, a dark room is scary. Even in your own home, in your own bedroom, when the lights are off, it's scary. When you turn on the lights, what does turning on lights mean? It means getting yourself knowledgeable, learning about it. Do your due diligence, as some people might say. Let's say you want to learn Japanese. When you go out there and start watching a couple of YouTube videos, some reading about Japanese culture or something else, you start to familiarize. That was one of the main things about comfort zone. It's familiar. So when you go and learn, when you familiarize yourself with it, it becomes inside your comfort zone. So go read about it. Always do your due diligence and go and read, go and study about that. The other thing that I'd like to talk about is, what was that? Okay. The last important thing is visualize success. Each of us, when we are getting outside of our comfort zone, we have a purpose, right? We are doing this. We are applying for a job, or we go and learn a new skill, or trying to do a business related action. We have a purpose, and we have that success defined in our minds. Remind that. That would help you to get out of your comfort zone. That would help you to basically start and continue the journey of getting out of your comfort zone. And as sooner you start, sooner you will learn. I'd like to finish with this scene. Imagine that a small bird, probably a couple of days old, sitting inside the safe nest, trying to open her or his wings and starting to fly. How scary is that? You're just a couple of days old. You're on top of a tree, looking downward. That's scary. I'm sure that bird is really scared. But just imagine the reward it gets. It's the ability to fly. That's the reward you get when you overcome the fears you have. That's it. I'm also in the red.
All right. For our last prepared speech, we have Jerry, who's doing Pathways to Dynamic Leadership, Understanding Your Communication Style. His basement did flood, just to give you some perspective on The journey of a Toastmaster is one of discovery. Jerry is learning a lot about speaking and communication style. What he's about to share will give you an inside track to the inner circle.
In our daily lives, we give little to no thought as to our communication styles. or for that matter, the communication styles of others. By default, we seem to think that people communicate the same way we do. At least that's what I do. As a result, I'm not always the best communicator. I'm not always the best listener. Today, I'm going to take one step forward and try to reconcile our communication differences by laying my communication style bare. My communication style focuses on three main aspects. The first will be small talk, then speed, and finally, having a decisive and concise message. Let's talk about small talk. When others interact with me with a lot of small talk, it can make me feel a little uncomfortable. You might notice that when I speak with you, sometimes I use very little small talk. In fact, a lot of times I forget to do that altogether. For me, small talk is a conscious effort. Let's talk about speed. Speed of communication is something that really impacts me, and I have a profound story to share with you. Early in my career, the speed of communication created a major communication and career barrier for me. I was in the audience of a lecture given by a senior vice president at Wells Fargo where I worked. The gentleman that was speaking was from Towson, Maryland, and I happen to hail from San Diego, California. Have you ever heard or seen the Saturday Night Live skit, The Californians? Anybody? Like, come on, Lisa, I totally know that you're like from Temecula.
Yeah.
Yeah? And Srinivas like, what are you doing here? That's kind of how the skit of the Californians go. They have these long, dragged out words, and they always talk about traffic and the roads they take to get places. That's the background I come from. We don't make the best rappers. The Northeast, however, let me tell you, people can talk fast in the Northeast. And Joe Rogers was no exception. He was rattling off stuff a mile a minute. And he was speaking to my core, things that I was passionate about, things I wanted to jump in and contribute to the conversation on. But there was a communication barrier. He was speaking so fast, and I was processing at the same rate at which I speak. By the time I was ready to interject, they were on to the next thing. If you want to communicate effectively with me, you have to slow it down. However, I do have a trick. I worked at this over time, but I have to keep this practice up, and that is, I decided I had to have a solution for this communication problem in order to advance my career as well as communicate effectively with people that are not like me and who speak fast. What I did, I downloaded podcasts at 2 times the speed. Imagine that. There's Burr Live singing White Christmas, and he sounds like a chipmunk. That worked very effectively for me, but I have to keep that practice up, or David, honestly, I'll never understand anything he said. The third and final key to effective communication with me is that I like messages that are clear and concise. The most effective example I can share with you comes from an email I got from someone in the military. My goodness. Subject line. Completely packaged the email up in a very concise, lovely bundle. Body of the email. Beginning was, hey, what's the problem? Followed by, what are the facts? Then to complete the email, action items. I love that. I wish I could get that all the time. So that is a very effective way to communicate with me, because what happens if I don't get decisive and concise messaging, I'm sorting everything you say into 3 buckets. The bucket of fact, the bucket of trash, and the bucket of maybe relevant. And I have to admit, the maybe relevant bucket has a hole in it. How does knowing my communication style take a step forward and bring us to reconciling our communication differences? Human nature is to trust those things that are similar to us and fear those things that are different. If you're able to communicate with me a little bit less with the foreplay, slowly and with a decisive message, you'll gain instant credibility and my trust.
For our next portion of the meeting, we'll be doing voting. Just kidding. Everyone good? For our next portion of the meeting, we'll be moving on to table topics. And I'd like to introduce our table topics master meeting. Who knew?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Unu. I'll be the table topics master of this evening. Table topic session is a session where everyone can participate and be here to deliver a speech for 1 to 2 minutes without any preparation. Typically, we give you a question and you can answer that for 1 to 2 minutes. Today, I want to challenge you to use your creativity, and I have this pouch which have random words. So what you do is you pick 3 words and use those words to make one story. It can be your story, or it can even be a totally fake one. It's only up to you. And you have 1 to 2 minutes to talk. So who wants to volunteer for the first speaker? Jared. Choose 3 and give it to me. So, Jerry's word is vacation, Toastmasters, and fairy tale.
From my perspective, Toastmasters this evening is a vacation. Because let me tell you, it is no fairy tale at home right now. Before coming here, I pumped out 36 gallons of water in a basement that I just finished last week after another flooding incident. So I don't know what's going on. Welcome to Frederick. We'll figure that out. But the other part of a vacation is those things that come up. The fighting in the back seat as you're going there. And being here in this comfort zone brings me back to that perspective where a vacation won't be a vacation without that strife. And even though there's strife, I'm now realizing, well, the basement didn't exactly flood from the sump pump this time. It flooded from apparently the wall, so who knows? You know, and hey, I found out new ways to handle some things, and I really lowered the bar on what life is going to be like from here on out on this vacation. So to sum it up, Toastmasters is a vacation, and home isn't a fairy tale, but it's home.
Communication and phone.
Well, what I can think of is it is going to be very difficult to communicate on your telephone in the rain. But no, communication and the rain are all a matter of perspective to how well you communicate, which we are learning here. And we've all come out in the rain. Some of us got here a little faster than others, but we made the effort to come out in the rain to learn all about our communication. And we also had to silence our phones so we could hear everybody. Thank you.
Zone, name, and accident.
I like table topics a lot because you are always pushing your comfort zone. You never know what you're gonna get when you get up here. And it's normal human psychology to always think the worst is gonna happen. And the worst possible accident is going to happen when you get up there. I think this is especially true when you're in school. I always remember being so fearful because you can't get away from those people. You have to see them the next day. And then everybody knows your name and you're that kid. But as I got older, and a couple years ago when I graduated, I really wanted to make that change. And that's why I started coming to Toastmaster twice a month for almost a year and a half now, to push my comfort zone and try and make that change in my life. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you very much for all the participation, and we're going to vote. The first speaker was Jerry, the second speaker was Leanne, and third speaker was Alex. And that's all for me. Thank you.
Yes.
I
that-
reversed the things.
Okay.
Yeah,
I,
I do it.
I think I messed up. I don't know. I didn't sleep well last night, so that's my excuse. I had nightmares and.
Generally don't have an excuse, I just don't pay attention to what I'm doing.
Should everyone withdraw my name?
It's another issue.
Accident.
Accident, yes.
Pro.
For our next portion of the meeting will be the evaluations, and I would like to welcome up Christine Paris, who will be our general evaluator today.
Yay, I get to be general evaluator, which I love. Toastmasters, hallmark of Toastmasters, we feedback, feedback, feedback. We have evaluators, evaluating evaluators, evaluating everything. I get to do everything tonight. Our first evaluator, evaluating Beth's speech, is David Wood.
Fellow Toastmasters, I hope you enjoyed Beth's speech as much as I did. I was floored by how amazing her presence was and how great, Beth, your pacing was. It was so well paced. There was never a moment where you were looking for the words to say, or if you were, I couldn't tell. Every pause was like exact. If I measured it, it was like exactly. You said you started in 2006. I can definitely see it. So you said you wanted to work on body language. One thing on body language, I did notice it was a little bit muted. You definitely had good body language when you wanted to make a point. If it was something that was animated, you animated it. You mentioned the asparagus standing upright. But I noticed, like, for the majority of your time, you had your hands at your side. To contrast that, when Parsa was speaking, maybe this is the other side of the pendulum, he did it almost on every single word. So to challenge yourself, I would say, be a little bit more like Parsa in that. And the next time you speak, every single, or just overdo it, to kind of get yourself out of that comfort zone, like we were talking about. But other than that, great presence, great humor. I noticed there was probably a laugh every 30 seconds. Great pacing. Your opener was very strong. We all got along with you on the ride. When you first opened, immediately we were like, you had addressed us and you had mentioned things about yourself that we'd already known. So yeah, excellent speech. I really enjoyed it, and I'd like to see some more from you.
Thank you, David. Our second evaluator tonight is Serena Voss, who is evaluating Parsa's speech.
Parsa, our perspectives matched in the topic of comfort zone. Several weeks ago, I gave a speech, my 10th speech, and exactly you saw the same thing. Your introduction was strong. Also, when you came up here, you tried to give someone else's topic, and that was a little distracting. So you could just go straight into your speech, so you could put as much as possible. As far as the content, so you gave a problem statement, you gave tips to how to solve, and at the end, you gave what exactly you can do to achieve your goal, which is focused on the purpose. It was great content. How you delivered it, everything was perfect. The only thing was movement-wise, I saw little abrupt movements. So that was a little distracting to me. It was good. It was body language, in terms of the movement and gestures, it was great, but that's abrupt movements distracted from seeing your content and focus. So you were so emotional, I think, in this topic. That came through. So even though you were not completely prepared, you were here, chugged through your topic, and gave perfect examples, and at the end, you gave beautiful bird example. That drove the concept to everybody. Some of the advice I have, I think the use of notes also a little distracting to me. You were leaning, I think you should blend your moment into that rather than leaning over. Add some personal stories if you could. So you gave an exact story, but if you add personal stories, how it actually, what you felt at that moment, that actually adds value. And in terms of vocal variety, at times I felt that you were a little slower, so you could speed up. But that actually adds value. I think I didn't see much. It's trying to anxiously waiting for what you're going to say. So you can speed up and then you can put. And also at the end, the ending was a little abrupt, even though you gave a great example. But because I think it was already read, so you tried to stop. I think you probably had something to say, but you wanted to stop. Overall, it was a great speech, and I really enjoyed it. You had a good phrase like, the sooner you start, the sooner you get. That's a great perspective. And bird example. Thank you.
Thank you, Srinivas. Our third evaluator tonight is Lisa, who is evaluating Jerry's speech.
Jerry, kudos to you. How many gallons did you pump out? 36?
36.
Some number, and you came in here a little late because you had to, and you slid right into it, and you came up here and looked like a professional. You did it. Good eye contact. With your speeches, I have noticed that you are really intent on looking at people, so you draw them in, because you know that you can make this connection, and so people are interested. A lot of good movement too, with your hands, using the space effectively. Very good. What I would like maybe to see, or might improve your speech a bit, is that when you introduced it, you went through small talk, speed, and concise message. You kind of went through small talk quickly. I would have liked to have seen, perhaps, and I think everyone else, to understand what you mean by small talk, and I'm sure you have a good story there. I'm sure you could have made us laugh, because you made us laugh on the other ones too. So I would have liked to have that a little more defined. Then you went into speed, and this was a good one, because you used the analogy of the buckets, and I really enjoyed that. And what also, when you got a good laugh, was when you were talking about the person that was going like this, and you couldn't keep up with them, and then you said you wanted to make a comment, but he was over here and you were still over there. Great movement to accentuate it, and you had a pause. You're very good with the timing, and timing is everything. It really is, so that was very good also. Concise message, and then I thought that's when you really came down to why you were giving the speech. Because when I first came through it and I heard this, I wrote down actually, why do we need to reconcile this? And you brought that in at the end. You had a great ending. I remember when I emailed you, said you want to nail the conclusion, right? You nailed the conclusion. It got it all together, but I think if you had stated your purpose in the beginning, so I wasn't kind of a little lost as to why you were mentioning these things, then that would have pulled all over to the conclusion. It was nailed. You did a very good job in pulling it all together, but I think mentioning it a little bit in front would have helped also. But again, we enjoyed your speech. There's always those tales to tell and make those connections. Bringing up David and how to speak was also a good point too, which obviously was, I think, off the top of your head. So enjoyed it, and thank you for giving it.
Thank you, Lisa. That concludes the speaker evaluations, and we will vote now. And as a recap, it was, tell me, it was. It was Beth evaluating Jerry. It was Serena Voss.
David evaluating Beth.
I know, I was going to do that one last.
Oh, why?
No,
I didn't evaluate Jerry. Start over.
Redo.
All right. Evaluating Beth tonight was David. Evaluating Parsa tonight was Serena Voss. Evaluating Jerry tonight was Lisa.
Good job.
There you go. We have the buckets. Look at the way. One of them's in.
Did you catch me making eyes at my husband?
Yes, I did. It's adorable.
There's another one in there.
There is.
Yes. How'd you miss that?
This one.
Oh dear. Dear.
Yeah.
All the votes in? Great. It's time for our helper reports, and we will start with our timer. Tom, how do you do?
Good evening, everyone. I'm your timer, Tom. Timing went very easily this evening with the help of the timing device. Everyone was within time with the exception of Parsa. I know when I give a speech, I always forget to look at the timer. I think that just comes with practice to glance at it. Actual times recorded were Beth 5 minutes 32 seconds, Parsa 8 minutes 14 seconds, Jerry 6 minutes 23. For table topics, Jerry at 124, Leanne at 50 seconds, Alex at 54 seconds. And for evaluations, David was 1 minute 47, Shrina Voss was 3:18, and Lisa was 3:01. Thank you.
Thank you. Jody, would you please give us the grammarian report?
Okay, so let's see. I made a mistake here about the Toastmaster and the Toastmaster of the evening, so I put like the wrong names in the wrong slots, but I'll try to make that clear. So I messed up. Yeah, Tom was the timer, so I caught that he used the word of the day when he said whether timed speeches are a good thing or a bad thing is a matter of perspective. So use that. Let's see, speaker number 1, Beth May. She talked about how her and Tom have different perspectives about what car they like to drive. So she said that pretty early on into the speech. Let's see, memorable lines. I liked her line where she said she'd rather balance a checkbook to the penny than to plate food. So I thought that was interesting because I hate math. So kudos to you. Speaker number 2 was Parsa. I don't remember if he used the word of the day. I didn't catch that if he did. So if he did, it's my mistake. Memorable lines. He talked about how can't even read my handwriting. That's the problem. The metaphor of the bird, I really liked that. Kind of imagining it sort of hovering over the edge and looking down and not really wanting to take that plunge, but maybe kind of at that point of decision about whether to do that or not. Let's see, speaker number 3, Jerry. Again, I don't know if I caught the word of the day. I might have missed out on that. Let's see, but I didn't see anything like awkward, word usage or anything like that I caught up on. Let's see, Toastmaster of the evening. So here's where I messed up, okay. I'm supposed to say table topics master, but I put in Toastmaster of the evening, which was Alex. He said, I think he was talking about Jerry when he said the basement did flood, and that gives you perspective on Jerry's situation, so he used the word of the day. Let's see. Table topics 2, Leanne. She used the communication and the rain are a matter of perspective. I thought that was an interesting and unlikely association. So, good job with that. And also using the word of the day. Let's see, table topics 3 was Alex. Again, I don't know if I caught anything there. Certainly nothing awkward that I picked up on. Christine, I didn't pick up on any awkward words or pauses. Speech evaluator number 1, David. Didn't pick up on anything, that didn't work, any ambiguity or grammar issues. Srinivas, he used the word of the day. Our perspectives matched in the topic of comfort zone. I think he was talking about parse of speech, trying to remember what I meant when I wrote that. So he used that. And Lisa, I didn't see anything that was awkward in any of your communications. I think everybody did a really good job with, not using bad grammar or slang or or I seen or it was like or any of those kind of things that people tend to do when they're in conversation. I think it's a little bit more informal. So good job on that.
Thank you, Judy. For our all counters report, Louise, how did we do?
I had 13 people to keep track of in the order of, let's see, Alex. I think you were pretty good. You had a crutch, but, and once. All right. Lizette, so, maybe if, and instead of saying maybe if we, you just start out if we instead of the maybe. Jody, you have some and a so. Tom, usually don't catch you on anything, but this time.
Oh no.
After you made us all laugh. Maybe it was interesting. Beth had one end that I don't think she wanted to have in there. Parse up. Okay, so. You often use so for a transition to the next sentence. Jerry, I actually did catch 2 so's as a table topic, so that may be where you're flying in, not practicing ahead of time, so keep trying. Onu, a 1, so. Leanne, but David, ums and ahs, but nothing when you did your rolls. So. Srinivas, so, I think impromptu speeches like evaluations, we throw a lot more so's and ums because we're trying to think on our feet. And it's longer than just the table topics. Lisa, but again. And Christine,
right?
And I didn't find anything for you, Christine, so good job.
Great, and good, actually good job. All right, a few comments from me, overall, general comments for the meeting. David, you are great with open meeting and giving the timer explanation. You have gotten wonderful with your voice projection compliments. It's great. Alex, good job with Toastmaster tonight. You had the emails going out, getting the roles filled.
Nice, yeah.
When you were up here, I could tell you were keeping the whole group in mind. You controlled the meeting well. I'm going to tell you one thing. Come on up here.
Let's hear it.
All right. Part of this, I think, is generational. Shake my hand.
What am I doing? You want me to really
No,
firm?
make sure that you're tucked in here.
Right.
And you're there.
How's that? Should
That's
we
good.
start
Squeeze
from
hard
like,
though. That's hers.
should we start all over again?
No.
Just don't worry. I never know how
That was perfect. That was
good.
perfect, yes. And one thing you didn't sound nervous, but one thing you did is you did this a lot.
Yeah.
Great job, though. You did good. I enjoyed it. Lisette, loved your inspiration. It was a heartfelt one, which is, to me, are always the best. And I'd never heard the I'm possible before. That was very interesting. For table topics, Anu, I love you up here and explaining things. You are so relaxed and have that cute, fun little voice and great topics. Good job. Beth, the evaluators did great. I think you all picked up on some of the things that the speakers did really well, which we want because that reinforces what we want to do again, and then also some ideas to consider for the next time. Beth, you did your 0 to 60 second joke. You rushed it tonight. Did you notice that? Because you almost had to explain it. You never had to do the 0 to 60 period because you didn't get a laugh right away, and it's because you rushed it. I don't know if you noticed. That's because it's a cute joke. Parsa, I do after the meeting, I want you to tell me what the danger zone is. I was hoping, oh my God, tell me what the danger zone is so I know that I don't ever have to go there and only have to go up to it.
Yeah.
That was really cute.
Things, yeah.
And you are very endearing up here. Great job. Jerry, I think this is one of your better ones of projecting your voice and moving around. You felt completely comfortable. Did you feel it more so than ever?
Yeah.
One comment, you said, I'm going to tell you a profound story. Personally, I don't want you telling me that you're going to tell me that what a profound story is. And you get me just because we're friends, okay? I'd rather you say something profound happened to me. So from your perspective, it's profound, not you're giving us a profound story. If that makes sense. I don't want to tell Jerry that. Jody, one of the most memorable lines tonight was you saying memorable lines. That was very cute. Thanks. Jody, you had said, I didn't see anything. Since you were listening, it would be, I didn't hear anything tonight. But we did good with the time, good control of the meeting. Alex led applause. Everything was great. So I'm going to ask Alex to come back up. Please welcome him.
Got a few awards to give out. So, best speaker.
You didn't see.
Makes him look like he's up to some
Goes to
naughtiness or something.
Jerry. Best table topics goes to me. The best evaluator is Lisa. And last but not least is a shining star.
And who are you going to give it to?
Working on.
Tell me who you were going to give it to.
I asked earlier if I could give it to myself as a joke. I have a bunch of honorable mentions. I really appreciate Lisette and Jody helping me out at the last second. And everyone who signed up in advance, of course. Tom helping me out the last second. But I'd like to give this to David for taking on 2 roles tonight of vote counter and evaluator.
All right.
Yeah, it's up to you.
Oh, yeah. Wait a second.
Beth did an icebreaker.
Beth did an icebreaker.
Oh, icebreakers.
Wait a second. Hold it.
Well, then I'm not
Got
taking the
one last
picture.
award to give.
Here.
I got you.
Icebreaker.
All right, thank you.
Even though I didn't get the shining star from
Beth, scoot it, scoot it, scoot it. You go.
Yeah.
Good.
Say icebreaker.
Icebreaker.
Thank you.
I would like to return control of the meeting to our presiding officer.
A much improved handshake, thank you for that tutorial, Christine. So we have, I think, 2 guests to ask for your impressions of the meeting. VP membership.
Yeah,
VP membership gets to do that.
Yeah.
See?
Okay, you want to steal my thunder, right?
Yeah, no, I don't.
No, okay. So, Erin, please tell me. I know that you had mentioned that you're going to sign up. Yes. So, but can you state anything else about the meeting? Did you find out any more interesting tidbits about our Frederick Toastmasters?
It's run very smoothly and on time, and not only you learn about speaking, lots of great stories. So I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I enjoyed that too. Thank you. And I don't see a nameplate in front of you, so what is your name?
Hello, my name is Nicole.
Nicole, how, is this your first time visiting?
This is my very first.
And you came out in the rain. I am impressed.
I'm a little lost. I thought I was going to a different section of town and the rain, so I'm glad to have made it here.
Okay, so your impressions?
It's very interesting. I'm a very creative type person, and structure and public speaking and all that is something I'm trying to bring into my life. And so I'm intimidated as heck, and this was cool. This was something that I'm like, okay, there are no sharks here. Something like that.
Well, I hope you join us again. Come back as many times. So, as a VP of membership, I know one of my prime objectives is to bring in new members. And that's true. And we've had a lot of new members come, and a lot of people show up and be interested, and that's very exciting. But also, I was thinking about it today, after I read the Toastmasters Club update. My job is also to perpetuate the enthusiasm and to encourage and energize the people that are here. And I think we do that for each other. But when I read the Toastmasters update, and I already asked Alex if I could share this, because I'm going to quote him. It says, if you look really closely, most overnight successes took a very long time. It's not about a single action, but a marathon of minor improvements. Every time you get up here to give a speech, you're making one solid step in your overall life success. And he says, get up there and take action. And that in itself is why we're here, to encourage each other, to make sure that we're all comfortable, knowing there aren't any sharks here, and that we're going to encourage each other. And know that all members are here on this journey together. Thank you.
Okay, club business, I believe, is the last item on our agenda. We have dues that need to be paid by the end of the month, so if you haven't paid yet, I think Ruth was supposed to send
Yes.
out and may have sent out her
She
mailing
did.
address so you can mail a check if you need to?
Yes, or she asked me to take them.
Oh,
So, but
okay.
Joe is
Good.
in here, so I can take it also.
Okay, terrific.
And give it to her, forward it. Oh, well, I'll take money anytime.
And then,
Not a problem.
it's $51, $45 goes to Toastmasters International, and only $6 small dollars are for club dues to help defray the expenses. It's only $6 because we don't let you keep the trophies. Trophies, right? But we do have to buy the ballots and the icebreakers, etc. So $6 every 6 months, not a lot, so it's 51 total. Pay by March 31st to remain in good standing. And the next leaders meeting will be Monday, April 8th. I will put it on the agenda for the next meeting. And the District 18 Spring Conference registration is still open. There are a limited number of spaces. So when I was on last week, there were still, I think, 80-some spaces still left. So still plenty of spaces. But when it gets closer to the time of the conference, which is April 12th, they sometimes do sell out. So if you do want to go, I encourage you to get online and register. Any other club business? Lisa?
I'd like it, Madam President, if you could also mention about our new roles coming up and people filling the
Elections?
Yes.
Yes, good reminder, thank you.
You're welcome.
So our Toastmasters year ends in June. The new Toastmasters year begins in July, and our officer elections will be the last meeting in April, the first meeting in May. We decided, but I don't remember what we decided. So we will put it on the future events on the top of the agenda, starting with the next meeting. I believe it's the first meeting in May.
Yes.
Will be our elections. So if you're interested in running for a position, and the positions are all at the top of your agenda, so President, Vice President of Membership, Secretary, Sergeant at Arms, Vice President of Education, Vice President of Public Relations, Treasurer, and the immediate past president. I get to take that office because I am the president, so I will be the immediate past president. But we do vote on all the other positions. So if you're interested, Christine is actually the chair as our immediate past president. She's the chair of the election committee. If you're interested in running, please let Christine or any of the other officers know, and we'll hook you up with Christine. Is that good?
That's good. Very
That's what
good.
you had in mind? Okay,
Yeah.
any other club business? Sure.
Just want to let everybody know our first iteration of the book club just finished.
Oh, yeah.
We successfully read It's Your Ship, and it was fantastic. And I believe we have a book set up for the next reading. We conducted a short survey. I have some of those details. If anybody's interested, I'll hang back after the meeting. We can talk about that.
Great. All right, thank you, Jared. All right, Alex.
I'm going to be making a club video.
Right,
Does it go on our website? Where does it go?
We submit it to Toastmasters International, and they might put it on the Toastmasters International website.
Even better. And I do think it would make a lot of sense to have people in our club in that video. So I was thinking people would be interested. I want to gauge some interest now. Every once in a while we do have an extra meeting. I think the next one's at the end of May. We do have one speaker signed up, but we could maybe use half that meeting to work on the video.
Oh,
People are
yeah.
interested.
Great idea.
So,
All right.
What do we have to do in this video?
A little dancing, a little singing, you know.
you know what?
A lot of laughing.
It's all up to you, Louise.
It's the wow factor. It's going to be a wow factor.
Oh, okay.
Right, okay.
I'll be the
Director?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do want to get your interest and ideas in the clubs.
Oh, yeah, show and tell us a 1-minute video. How long did that take to make?
I thought it was more than 1 minute. Well,
This says 1 minute here.
I still want.
Well, would you want more than that and then just edit out? Maybe
Yeah.
yes.
Gives
It
people
takes a half
time.
hour to make 1 minute usually. I was kidding.
I don't know.
All right.
Well,
I'm pretty excited about that. Thank you,
Yeah.
Alex.
I was like,
Okay.
thank you for volunteering.
no problem.
Any other club business? Club adjourned.
All right, let me explain my profound comment.
No, I get it.
Okay.
Yeah. I
But then I think I might even be wrong though, because I do hear people say a profound story. So maybe that is right. I think for me, a story in itself can't be profound. It's only profound in relation to somebody's experience is all. It's kind of like, oh, here's a funny, I'm going to tell you a funny story. It's like, no, just tell me a funny story. Don't tell me it's going to be funny. Don't tell me it's a profound story. Tell a profound story.
I practicing? I didn't say.
Okay.
It's just, so I wanted to focus on my conclusion. I focused on my conclusion. My interest has left the rest of just happened.
Yeah, could you explain that?
Because I ran out of time, you know, with the but, yeah, so.
As soon as I open my mouth, I shouldn't be making this comment. It's not rude, like, oh, can I tell you to reverse this? I totally lost my train of thought.
Because for me, to remind everyone that when you're speaking, it's like, I'm not going to You're sitting there, you're waiting for the things and you don't know, so don't make the promise, that's what.
Oh, if you're not sure you're gonna say the word thing.
Maybe at the end, they can sum it up.